Shalom everyone. This video is on regards to a dream I had on July 12th, 2023, and this dream consists of a warning from the Most High. It's about our children as well, and lately I've been having dreams about children. Like, it's been one after another, and I believe the Lord is trying to indicate something, because this whole thing with the child sex trafficking agenda that's been going on, and it's just in the atmosphere. But this dream that I had, it's a heed warning that Jesus is coming soon. He is, y'all. He told me that in the dream. So I believe that he wants me to record it, and to whoever hears this message, whoever sees this message, that you heed the warning and everything like that. And we just keep praying for our children, praying that we as adults be that example that they need, be that protection that they need, and just be walking in the Spirit throughout this life, because that's the only way. It's not by power or by might, it's by Yahweh's Spirit. That's what he says. It's through his Spirit and his Spirit alone. So anyways, before I get all distracted, so I was at my mom's church, and there's a little church that she goes to down the street, and so we were there. It looked different, but there was a celebration going on, and the children were opening gifts, and they were in the front, and we were just celebrating. I don't know what the occasion was, but everybody was rejoicing. And I remember my niece, who stays with my mom, she was opening 2 gifts, and each time she opened a gift, everybody would applaud her. They would clap and they would rejoice with her, because she got, she was able to get presents, and she was rejoicing as well. She had this big smile and everything. And after that, I noticed that the church was dismissed, and everybody was like, they started cleaning up and started getting their stuff together to go home. And I remember that I had a lot of stuff to carry, and it wasn't just my stuff, it was the children's stuff. Like, mainly a lot of it was my children's stuff. So I was trying to get everything, and I couldn't. And I was like asking the children, hey, can you help me out? And they didn't want to. They were just like ignoring me. And so I started getting mad, and I was just like, but I didn't get to, like, I let them be, because they left, because I wasn't hounding on them. I was just complaining. And so I remember these 2 like sisters there at the church, 2 older sisters. They told me something, but I don't remember. But then I was like, well, and I looked, and the stuff that the stuff that the children had, as well as I did, there were some cups, those mason jars, those glass mason jars, and they had handles, and they had those swirly straws in there, and then they had a drink in them. I don't remember what kind of drink it was, but there was a lot of them, and I only have 3 children. And then, like, once in a while we have our niece and stuff like that come over to our house. And anyways, the point is, I didn't have so many children like that was on the table that I saw those glasses. I don't remember how many mason jars there were. So anyways, so I was there complaining, and then all of a sudden this little boy comes up to me. He was like around maybe between 7 to 9 years old. I don't know, but anyways, he came up to me. He's like, you want me to help you? I could help you. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. But I was still complaining. I was like, well, you shouldn't be helping me. My children should be helping me, because you're not even my child, So anyways, but he helped me, and I was still complaining. And we were like, the church is located down the street from where my mom lives, but in the dream it was like across the street, like over there. Look, I don't know if you guys y'all could see, but when we were walking from that area, there was no church building there. It was just like what you saw right now, what I showed you right now on the video. And then, so anyways, we were walking down the street, and I remember there was a lot of children. There was a lot, and I was still complaining, and then all of a sudden my cousin came by, one of my cousins, and they parked the vehicle right here in the front, right there. You can see that right there where the trees are. And they didn't get off, but one of their daughters came off, and my niece, the one that lives with my mom, she was just like, oh, I'm not gonna go with you after all, Tia, and I'm gonna go with her. And I got so angry. I was like, excuse me, you told me that you were gonna come with me and come with us and hang out. And she's like, no. And she was giving me like, and so I was like, fine then, you know what, go do whatever you want, so I let it be, and all the children came into my mom's house. I'm here in my mom's house, that's why saying this and everything. Anyways, and as I was gonna come in, the house was different, because there's like behind me, this used to be a carport, and they closed it, and they made 2 rooms in real life. But in my dream, it was all open, like all this was open, and there was it was just open, it was like if it was still a carport, but not, it wasn't really, because it was like a garage, like a shop looking thing, like not a garage, because it was more like a shop where there was all these tools everywhere, and shelves and stuff like that, like you could do projects, like home projects, woodwork, stuff like that, right? So anyways, I was coming in, and I noticed my oldest brother Peter, and he was working on something for my mom in there, and my husband was helping him, and then he told me, he said, hey Kat, can you get a notebook for your husband, because he needs a notebook. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess, and he's doing some notes or something like that. And then I looked on the floor, and there was a notebook, one of those, those business notebooks with the yellow pages in there, and it doesn't have a cover, it's just, the pages. And so I was just like, is this one good, Peter? And he's like, yeah. And then I noticed there was some writing, and I said, hey brother, is this my dad's writing? Because my dad used to love to write. And then he's like, oh yeah, that was dad's, but now it's gonna be your husband's, he's gonna use it. And I'm like, all right, well, thank you. I was like, all right, so then here it is, and I didn't say thank you all. I think Peter said thank you, and then because I got a little sad, because just memories, so then all of a sudden my brother, I'm going inside, and then my brother, my youngest brother, called, and he lives with my mom as well in one of these rooms. But anyways, my youngest brother called, and it was through a Google Mini that was there, and my brother Peter answered it, and he was just like, yeah, yes. And then he goes, hey, and my younger brother, he was getting mad, he was getting angry. He's like, why did you guys open my present? And then he's like, hey, calm down, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, no, somebody opened my present. And he was just angry. And then me, since I was like, upset with the children, and then my niece, because she didn't want to come with me anymore, and she just like decided to change her mind to go, with somebody else, and I was like, you know what, my niece took some presents over there, and then my younger brother goes, really? Yeah. And then he goes, whoa. And then I was like, but my older brother's like, but what kind of present? I mean, how did the present look? And then he was like, it was a notebook, and on the covering of the notebook had Hebrew letters, and he's like, they weren't supposed to open it until tomorrow. And then I was looking back, and I said, you know what, I don't remember that. I don't think it was the present. I don't think it was her that opened the present. So then, uh, my brother Peter goes, you know what? I'm gonna go inside. And my husband had been there before, but he had left too. But he didn't get the notebook yet either. The business notebook, the one with the yellow pages. Anyways, so he left. My brother Peter left, but I was so like hurt because I was accusing my niece, and then also I was just like upset because nobody helped me. It seemed like nobody helped me, and then the odd thing was that I didn't have any stuff anymore. So like I wasn't carrying. I hadn't gone to the house. I hadn't put stuff down. So I was just like, but within my heart, you all, I started crying and looking up, like outside of the carport, looking up like to the sky. And I was just like, Lord, how long is this gonna happen, where there's all these injustices being done, people doing things that you know that are not right. And it was just a simple thing, like my niece wasn't doing really anything that bad per se, and the children weren't either. They weren't helping me, but I was like, my heart was hurting. And so I came out of the shop, like pretend like behind me it was open, right? So I'm coming out, and then I'm looking to the sky, like right there. Like, I don't know if I'm doing this correctly. But anyways, I was looking right there and praying, and all of a sudden, it, it all these clouds started forming, like it was gonna rain. But it wasn't like dark. The clouds were like fluffy clouds still, like real fluffy. There's not really any fluffy clouds right now, but they were like nice, and it was like the sun was kind of seeping through, like they were kind of pinkish. And when there's gonna be the sunrise, like barely the sun is coming up. And it was just a beautiful sight. But I still had like, when are you gonna come? Then all of a sudden I'm looking at the clouds, they're forming, and then they start kind of parting because they were like close together, and then they started parting, and between two big fluffy clouds, in between, like it was like kind of like a canopy as well. But then there was like when you open curtains, like something like that, but they were fluffy still. Anyways, there was these four clouds that were forming, like on the bottom of the, like, not, yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but anyways, there was four clouds that were forming, two on the right, two on the left. And I was looking at them, and I was just like, what are those? And all of a sudden they formed into horses. And I noticed that they had colors. They had the red, white, blue, and pale looking horse. And I was like, the four horses of the apocalypse. I was like, they're here, and that's why all this is happening. And I was just like looking at them, and they're still forming. And then all of a sudden, out in the middle between the four horses, because there were like two on one side and two on the other, and there were in the middle, it was the blue sky. There was no cloud around there. It was just the blue sky forming. There was another cloud forming, and when the cloud was forming, that cloud was, it was Jesus. It was Yeshua, and it was forming, and he was forming right there, like a cloud, like how the horses had been formed. So then it was just the image, like the outline of Yeshua. And I was just like it's Jesus. And I was like yelling out, and I was like, Jesus is coming. I was like rejoicing. And then I was like, I'm like waiting for it to like form into his body. And I know it was Jesus because he had a crown. But then it was crazy because he had he still kind of like it still looked kind of like the crown of thorns. So I was like odd by that, but I was just like, what? But since it you know, it was forming, he was forming, I you know, I it wasn't too much clear. And then so anyways, he was getting big, like really big, and between those horses. And then all of a sudden he like goes like this with his hands, like, come here, come, you know. And I was looking up, and then in my spirit, I mean, I couldn't see a face, I couldn't see anything, but I knew it was Yeshua. And I felt him tell me in my spirit, say, I am coming soon. I'm giving you a little bit more time. You need to get ready. You need to prepare. You need to tell people that I'm coming, to repent, to turn away from their sin and come to me. And, you know, I will receive them. All they have to do is just accept me. And I was just like, but I was wanting to stay there because I was like, I want to see your face, you know. I want to really, really see your face. And so then I'm there, and then all of a sudden in the very bottom, because there was clouds in the bottom where the horses were too, like not like a lot, there was just like it was just like a like a, I don't know how to explain it. It was just a very thin cloud, like there where they were standing. So then all of a sudden there was another cloud forming on the bottom, and this cloud was really dark, and then it started forming into like a demon. And then I was looking, but I was trying to focus on Jesus, you know, not that other formation. But then I started noticing that he had like eyes, and like they weren't like this, they were like, it was just like like a drawing, like a shadow drawing, but the eyes and the mouth, you know, the teeth, they were all black, you know. And then all of a sudden is coming down, like it started forming, and it was coming down towards the earth. And then that's when in my heart, in my spirit, Yahweh is saying, go, you need to go now, go shut yourself in the house, and go tell, especially the children. He indicated the children need to hear. And then I was like, all right. So I ended up going, you know, into the house, and then trying to close the door, and it was kind of like you know, all this wind was trying to, you know. And then all of a sudden it started raining. But then I was like, Jesus is coming. And then I was still excited, you know, too, but I was scared at the same time. But then I was like, that fear had gone away like completely. And I was like, I need to tell everybody that Jesus is coming, and then they need to repent and turn away, you know, from their sin and go to him. So then I go in, and then my tia's looking at me. My tia Socorro is looking at me all weird, like, what? You know, and she's reading the Bible. And then my mom's making breakfast or making dinner, I don't know, she was cooking. And then there was a little boy between, like, the one that helped me, I don't know if that was him who helped me, but he had a feel of one of my nephews too, and on my husband's side of the family. And he was alone, and he was eating there in the kitchen on the children's table. He was just there, just eating by himself. And all the other children, my children included, they were in my mom's room. They were playing. But this one was just eating there. And then I told them, and then I noticed that the kitchen door was open, and it was like a big, like, nice field, and like garden stuff. And I don't know, it just looked really awesome. But it was raining, and my mom had the door open, so it was real soothing and stuff like that. But then he's like, what are you yelling about, or what? And then I started telling him about Jesus. He's like, who is that? And I go, well, you know. And I started giving him the gospel, and I said, all you have to do, he goes, he died for me? he died. And he's like, when was this? And I was like trying to explain to him, and then I just told him, look, he died for you, and he didn't stay in the grave, and he rose on the third day, and so that anyone who believes in him, who fully trusts in him, who calls upon his name, they will be saved, and they will be resurrected in 3 days as well. And you'll live it. You'll have everlasting life. You'll live forever with him. That's what he wants, and that's what he told me. Right now, I'm serious. And then he goes, what, you saw him? And I was like, yeah, you didn't hear me like explaining this? And he was like, yeah, like, how did he look? And that's why I had seen him with the crown, like a crown. But when I was explaining to him, that's when I was saying about the thorns, the thorns on his head. And he goes, why did he have thorns? And I go, I don't know, and I'm still like asking the Lord, well, what is this? Why the thorns on your brow still? But anyways, but he goes, you know what? I want to accept him. I do. I want him to live inside of me. And I got so, like, I got so joyful, you all. And I was like, all right. And all you have to do is just trust him and believe, and he will do the rest, because it's a gift, and it's a free gift. And all you have to do is believe, and he will do the rest. He'll transform you. But you have to seek him. And he goes, I want to. And I go, praise Jesus, praise Yeshua, because you know what? He's coming soon, and we need to get ready. So then I left him, and then I was going to where was I going? Oh yeah, I was going to my mom's room, because my mom's room, that's where the rest of the children were. And I was just like, I need to tell them now it's their turn. And so, but as I was going inside the hall. My mom has a very small house, but the hallway, you could go to the living room, and that's where my tia was there before, in the living room. And she was almost near the hall, but she was still in the living room, and she was reading the Bible. And she goes, hey Kathy, she goes, I'm here reading it, and the tribulation is gonna start in 1.5 days or something, or it's gonna be 1.5 days, the tribulation. And I said, I go, Tia, no, it's not gonna be 1.5, it's gonna be 7 days. And she's like, that's too long. And I was like, but don't worry, Tia, he's gonna take care of us. And then she's like, all right. And I just left her like that. I don't know what that means, but I'm still like contemplating and praying what that means. So then I go to the room, and the children are all like playing around. There's a lot of beds in there, and it's just like just chaotic in there. Anyways, there was some children underneath the bed, and I was telling them, hey, Jesus is coming. And I was just like, excited and just shouting, and they didn't want to listen. They're like shrugging their shoulders, like, who cares? But they were just wanting to keep playing. And then I said, come on, listen. And then I grabbed some of the children that were under the bed, and I put them on another bed, where they could listen. And I remember that I was telling them, and they were kind of like, what? And then I was telling them what I saw, because it was so, it was so real. This dream was so vivid. And so then I was noticing that my son, my oldest son, he was like sitting near the door, and then he had an orange t-shirt on and orange shorts, and it looked like, like basketball attire. And then I was telling him that it was raining, and I go, I don't know, he's coming soon, you all. He is. If you want to listen, it's up to you. If you want to listen, you listen. You need to listen. But if you're not going to do it, I can't force you. Jesus is not going to force you. Yeshua is not going to force you. Nobody's going to be able to force you. You have free will. You need to listen, though, because he told me to tell you all. He told me to tell everyone, but especially you children. You children need to hear. And it's an urgent cry from his heart, And then I was like, it's raining right now. And they're all like, no, it's not. And I go, it's raining hard because it's flooding. And then they're all like, what? Flooding? And when we looked out the window in the back, it wasn't flooding. It was just like real smooth, like rain, like, like the kind of rain that you enjoy to like sleep in or get a nice cup of tea or coffee. I like tea personally, but it's like chill, but in the front it was raining like hard, like really hard, you all. And it was flooding, and it was flooding because I could see that. But the odd thing was that my mom's house, I don't know about the other houses, but my mom's house wasn't flooding, and the sidewalk, but in the street it was flooding. It was like going up, and there was a truck in the front, this like black Dodge looking truck, like almost an old school truck, not so new. And anyways, the water was going up to the tires. That's how much. And but in the back of my mom's house and in the front yard where even the sidewalk it wasn't flooding. It was like if the Lord was protecting us, but it looked, or like the house was raising with the water, like it was still like the level, but it wasn't coming in at all from the street to her house. And then so I was like, that's crazy. So then I was like, all right. So I'm leaving, and then my son Samuel is still there, and because I go, I need to find my husband to see what's going on. And then I look at my son, and my son starts crying. He's like, oh, and he was saying he was talking about about his grandpa, my dad. And I was just like, oh my, he was like, he's not going to be able to experience this, and it's so sad, this and this. And then I was just like, I looked at him, I go, Samuel, there's no need to cry. This is a time to rejoice. Your grandpa, he's no longer suffering. He's with Yeshua, and we're gonna see him soon, And then he just got excited. He's like, really? And I was like, yes, really. But you have to trust in Jesus. You have to trust in him. You can't be playing games anymore. You have to repent, because he's coming soon. And I like stressed that out to him, and then he was just like, he calmed down, and he had this big smile. It looked like when he was younger, because right now he's older. And I just saw that, that little baby face of his, and I'm like, oh, and so I was like, oh, I need to find my husband. So I go to my room. It used to be my room, because she only has 2 bedrooms. Anyways, my husband, I noticed my husband was asleep on my old bed, because it looked like when I was living there, and he was like asleep, like soundly. And I was just like, all right, the truck is outside. And I was like, it's a flood, and then because it was across the street too, where that black Dodge was, it was over here in back of it, like a little bit more in back of it. And you're not gonna believe this, but I mean, of course anything could happen in a dream, but the truck had like a protection like around it, and there was no water. Like it was dry, but like it was like a circle around the truck, and everything else was flooding. And I was like, what the, I was like, praise you, Jesus. And then so I look back, and all the children are there in the living room, and we're talking about the whole thing with the flood and stuff like that. And there I was like, it's crazy, it's not coming in. And I was just like thanking the Lord and just talking to the children. And my second, like, he's the second oldest, because they're past baby age, so but they're still, of course, still young. But he looked like when he was like maybe 2 years old or something like that, or one and something months or something. But he had that feel to him too. And he was sitting on a couch, and he was like he's laughing. And then I was like, "What's up, Sethrin?" I asked him, "What's going on?" And then he's like, he had some he had some leaves that he was eating, and there were mint leaves in the dream, but they were huge. They weren't like those small like mint leaves. They were like huge. They looked like a tree leaf or something. Looked like probably like something like this or something. And I think my mom was saying something about sunflowers, and I don't know what else is in there. But anyways, he was eating these leaves, right? And these there were mint leaves, and so then I was like, "What's going on?" And then they're like, "Ah, yeah, you should tell them the story." And then they're all saying, "It's because when we were crossing the street, um, grandma was so hungry, and she was just like throwing the mint leaves in her mouth, and one of them went inside her nose, and they're like laughing." And then I was like, what? And then I go, "How did it go inside her nose? They're huge." And then they're like, "I don't know," and they're like laughing. Oh well, it's my son especially, and he was just cracking up, and he had the mint leaves, and he's like, you know, just enjoying the peppermint leaves or whatever. And then so that's how the dream ended. I woke up abruptly, like, what? Where am I? And then I looked at the time. It was 5:35 a.m. and I was just like, wow, like, Lord Jesus, Yeshua, you are coming. You're coming soon, and we need to prepare. We need to ready our hearts for your return. Help us to ready our hearts, and especially tell the children. Don't give up on the children. Keep on telling them. So that's my message. We need to keep telling the children no matter what, and we need to be that example instead of us complaining and of course address them, hey, you know what, this and this, but not be in that mode where, you know what, forget you, then I'm gonna just let you be. No, I believe the Lord is saying no to that. Not to be so upset, so angry that you don't want to talk to them anymore. You go and you keep on telling your children, you keep on teaching them the message of Yeshua, him crucified and him raised from the dead, that he is no longer dead, but he is alive. And that's what we need to do, you all, because he is coming soon. I don't know how soon, but my tia was saying 1.5 days in tribulation or whatever, and then I was saying seven days only. So we know by scripture that after the tribulation, that's when the kingdom is we're gonna be able to see the kingdom, and we're gonna live with Christ forever. And there's not gonna be any tears, no more sorrow, no more any pain anymore. It's just gonna be joyful. So I just pray that we take warning and heed from this dream, because you all, it was so real, it was so vivid. Even though it happened 3 days ago or something around there, I still feel it in my heart, that because the enemy is trying to take it away. And I just remembered that part when the enemy, that cloud that looked like all demonic, that was the enemy, and he was coming down already, and he's gonna be revealed, and he's being exposed and everything like that. But there's gonna be that time, that tribulation that we have to go through, and we just have to endure. We just have to endure, you all, because that's what Jesus said. Those who endure till the end will be saved. So I'm gonna leave you with that, because I don't want to overly do it, because it's already more than 30 minutes, this video. So you guys be blessed, and shalom. And what are your thoughts? Leave me a line in the comments if you can, and I want to hear from you all if you can, and just pray about it. Just pray to see what the Lord is trying to indicate. But I just want to give this stream out there, so that he tells us to go and tell the good news to all people, and make disciples, and out of the nations, and go and proclaim, and shout out in the rooftops what we've heard in the secret, not keep it in anymore, you all. So shalom and Yahweh bless, and till the next video, or I don't know, we'll see each other in the kingdom, rejoicing and having fellowship there and eating at the Lord's table. What a wonderful meal we're gonna have. What a wonderful feast we will have in the Lord's table. So shalom and Yahweh bless.